wedding ring and calling her by her maiden name as they sat together after the shop was shut, and so I would get to fancy she was only a sweetheart and not married to him at all. And as soon as he could thoroughly fancy he was doing wrong and committing the seventh, I got to like her as well as ever, and they lived on a perfect picture of mutual love. "Well, that was a most ungodly remedy," murmured Joseph Poorgrass. "But we ought to feel deep cheerfulness that a happy Providence kept it from being any worse. You see, he might have gone the bad road, and given his eyes to unlawfulness entirely. Yes, gross unlawfulness, so to say it." "You see," said Bill Smallbury, "the man's will was to do right, sure enough, but his heart didn't chime in." "He got so much better that he was quite godly in his later years, wasn't he, Jan?" said Joseph Poorgrass. "He got himself confirmed over again in a more serious way, and took to saying Amen almost as loud as the clerk, and he liked to copy comforting verses from the tombstones. He used to hold the money plate at Let Your Light So Shine, and stand godfather to poor little come-by-chance children. And he kept a missionary box on his table, to nab folks unawares when they called. Yeah, and he would box the charity boys' ears if they laughed in church till they could hardly stand upright, and do other deeds of piety natural to the saintly inclined." "Ay, and at that time he thought of nothing but high things," added Billy Smallbury. "One day Parson Thirdly met him and said, 'Good morning, Mr. Everdene, 'tis a fine day.' 'Amen,' said Everdene, quite absent-like, thinking only of religion when he see the parson. Yes, he was a very Christian man." "Their daughter was not at all a pretty child at that time," said Henery Fray. "Never should have thought she'd have growed up such a handsome body as she is." "'Tis to be hoped her temper's as good as her face." "Well, yes, but the bailey'll have most to do with the business than ourselves. Ah!" Henery gazed in the ash-pit and smiled volumes of ironical knowledge. "A queer Christian, like a devil's head in a cowl, as the saying is," volunteered Mark Clark. Footnote: This phrase is a conjectural emendation of the unintelligible expression, "as the devil said to the owl," used by the natives. End of footnote. "He is," said Henery, implying that irony must cease at a certain point. "Between we two, man and man, I believe that man would as soon tell a lie on Sundays as working days. That I do." "Good faith, you do talk," said Gabriel. "True enough," said the man of bitter moods, looking round upon the company with the antithetic laughter that comes from a keener appreciation of the miseries of life than ordinary men are capable of. "Ha ha! There's people of one sort and people of another, but that man, bless your souls!" Gabriel thought fit to change the subject. "You must be a very aged man, Malter, to have sons growed mild and ancient," he remarked. "Father's so old that I can't mind his age, can he, father?" interposed Jacob. "And he's growed terrible crooked too lately," Jacob continued, surveying his father's figure, which was rather more bowed than his own. "Really, one may say that father there is three double." "Crooked folk will last a long while," said the maltster, grimly, and not in the best humour. "Shepherd would like to hear the pedigree of your life, father, wouldn't ye, Shepherd?" "Ay, that I should," said Gabriel, with the heartiness of a man who had longed to hear it for several months. "What may your age be, Malter?" The maltster cleared his throat in an exaggerated form for emphasis, and, elongating his gaze to the remotest point of the ash-pit, said in the slow speech justifiable when the importance of a subject is so generally felt that any mannerism must be tolerated in getting at it. "Well, I don't mind the year I were born in, but perhaps I can reckon up the places I've lived at, and so get it that way. I bode at Upper Longpuddle, across there," nodding to the north, "till I were 11. Bode 7 at Kingsbere," nodding to the east, "where I took to malting. I went therefrom to Norcombe, and malted there 22 years, and 22 years I was there turnip hoeing and harvesting. Ah, I know that old place Norcombe years afore you were thought of, Master Oak." Oak smiled sincere belief in the fact. "Then I malted at Durnover 4 years, and 4 year turnip hoeing. And I was 14 times 11 months at Millpond St. Jude's," nodding north-west by north. "Old Twills wouldn't hire me for more than 11 months at a time to keep me from being chargeable to the parish, if so be I was disabled. Then I was 3 years at Mellstock, and I've been here 31 year come Candlemas. Now how much is that?" "117," chuckled another old gentleman given to mental arithmetic and little conversation, who had hitherto sat unobserved in a corner. "Well, then, that's my age," said the maltster emphatically. "Oh, no, father," said Jacob. "Your turnip owing were in the summer and your malting in the winter of the same years, and we don't ought to count both halves, father." "Chock it all, I lived through the summers, didn't I? That's my question. I suppose you'll say next I'll be no age at all to speak of." "Sure we shan't," said Gabriel soothingly. "You be a very old age person, Malter," attested Jan Coggan, also soothingly. "We all know that, and you must have a wonderful talented constitution to be able to live so long, mustn't ye, neighbours?" "True, true, you must, maltster, wonderful," said the meeting unanimously. The maltster, being now pacified, was even generous enough to voluntarily disparage in a slight degree the virtue of having lived a great many years, by mentioning that the cup they were drinking out of was 3 years older than he. While the cup was being examined, the end of Gabriel Oak's flute became visible over his smock-frock pocket, and Henery Fray exclaimed, "Surely, shepherd, I seed you blowing into a great flute by now at Casterbridge." "You did," said Gabriel, blushing faintly. "I've been in great trouble, neighbours, and was driven to it. I used not to be so poor as I be now." "Never mind, Hart," said Mark Clark. "You should take it careless like, shepherd, and your time will come. But we could thank ye for a tune, if ye bain't too tired." "Neither drum nor trumpet have I heard since Christmas," said Jan Coggan. "Come, raise a tune, Master Oak." "Ah, that I will," said Gabriel, pulling out his flute and putting it together. "A poor tool, neighbours, but such as I can do ye shall have and welcome." Oak then struck up "Jockey to the Fair," and played that sparkling melody 3 times through, accenting the notes in the third round in a most artistic and lively manner by bending his body in small jerks and tapping with his foot to beat time. "He can blow the flute very well, that 'a can," said a young married man, who, having no individuality worth mentioning, was known as Susan Tall's husband. He continued, "I'd as lief as not be able to blow a flute as well as that." "He's a clever man, and 'tis true comfort for us to have such a shepherd," murmured Joseph Poorgrass in a soft cadence. "We ought to feel full of thanksgiving that he's not a player of bawdy songs instead of these merry tunes, for 'twould have been just as easy for God to have made the shepherd a loose, low man, a man of iniquity, so to speak, as what he is. Yes, for our wives' and daughters' sakes we should feel real thanksgiving." "True, true, real thanksgiving," dashed in Mark Clark conclusively, not feeling it to be of any consequence to his opinion that he had only heard about a word and 3/4 of what Joseph had said. "Yes," added Joseph, beginning to feel like a man in the Bible, "for evil do thrive so in these times that ye may be as much deceived in the cleanest shaved and whitest shirtedest man as in the raggedest tramp on the turnpike, if I may term it so." "Ah, I can mind your face now, shepherd," said Henery Fray, criticizing Gabriel with misty eyes as he entered upon his second tune. "Yes, now I see ye blowing into the flute, I know ye to be the same man I see playing at Casterbridge, for your mouth were scrimped up and your eyes a staring out like a strangleman's, just as they be now." "'Tis a pity that playing the flute should make a man look such a scarecrow," observed Mr. Mark Clark, with additional criticism of Gabriel's countenance, the latter person jerking out, with the ghastly grimace required by the instrument, the chorus of Dame Durden. "'Twas Moll and Beth and Doll and Kate and Dorothy Draggletail." "I hope you don't mind that young man's bad manners in naming your features," whispered Joseph to Gabriel. "Not at all," said Mr. Oak. "For by nature ye be very a handsome man, shepherd," continued Joseph Poorgrass, with winning suavity. "Ah, that ye be, shepherd," said the company. "Thank you very much," said Oak in the modest tone good manners demanded, thinking, however, that he would never let Bathsheba see him playing the flute, in this resolve showing a discretion equal to that related to its sagacious inventress, the divine Minerva herself. "Ah, when I and my wife were married at Norcombe Church," said the old maltster, not pleased at finding himself left out of the subject, "we were called the handsomest couple in the neighbourhood. Everybody said so." "Danged if you bain't taller now, malter," said a voice with the vigour natural to the enunciation of a remarkably evident truism. It came from the old man